I want you to take a breath. We are here in this moment, fully open, ready, willing to be pointed toward our own wisdom, our own knowing. There is a place inside me where all things are known and understood. It is at this place that I meet Source. I am a unique and divine expression, here to be uniquely me. I know that this moment is filled with purpose. I recognize that this moment is for my highest good. I open up, I embrace, and I listen. And as you are ready, you can open your eyes and breathe and get situated. I have a little video to start with that I'm very excited about. And you can line down to a little expert. So in just a second. Where are you now? I'm waiting until you don't hear Larry King.
The three things that I want to leave with you, just these three. I could do 10, I could do a whole life class. But just these three things will carry you if you let them. First and foremost, knowing who you are. Knowing who you are. Being able to answer this question, who am I? And what do I want? You know, many times when I go out of the country, I'm baffled by that question. To explain what is your occupation. I've stood there for 10 minutes. Well, am I a talk show host? Well, I'm more than a talk show host. Am I a businesswoman? I'm a businesswoman. I'm more than a businesswoman. Am I an entrepreneur? I'm more than an entrepreneur. So I just leave it blank or self-employed. So I'm not asking for the roles that you play as daughters. I'm not asking that question. What are the roles that you play as a daughter, as a friend, as a sister? You're going to be a lawyer, you're going to teach, you're going to be a pharmacist. I'm asking the bigger question of who am I? Who am I really? My answer is I am God's child. I am that which is born of all that is. I am, as Pierre de Chardin said, a spiritual being having a human experience. Come trailing the breath of the ancestors yet, but trailing the breath of the angels. And understanding that because I am connected to the source of all that is possible for me. That's who I am. And what do I want? I don't want to just be successful in the world. I don't want to just make a mark or have a legacy.
Oh, my heaven's sake.
Hey, are you tired of the media spinning the truth and pushing?
Everything is purposeful. Everything is purposeful.
The answer to that question for me is I want to fulfill the highest, truest expression of myself as a human being. I want to fulfill the promise that the Creator dreamed when He dreamed the cells that made up me. What do I want? You must have some kind of vision for your life. Even if you don't know the plan, you have to have a direction in which you choose to go. I never was the kind of woman who liked to get in a car and just go for a ride. boyfriend would say, let's just go for a ride. I want to know, where are we going? Do we have a destination? Is there a plan? Or are we just riding? What I've learned is that's a great metaphor for life. You want to be in the driver's seat of your own life, because if you're not, life will drive you. So, knowing who you really are in this space and time that we embody. That's number one. What do you want? Who are you? Number two, you must find a way to serve. Martin Luther King said that not everybody can be famous, but everybody can be great, because greatness is determined by service. Now, we live in a world where everybody wants to be famous, and where we admire people for just being famous. We think being known brings us value. The truth is, all of that will fade in time. In 3 years, you won't be able to name the housewives of Atlanta. The real truth is that service and significance, service and the significance that you bring to your service is that which is lasting. So to be able to, whatever your occupation or job or talent or gift is, our honorees today getting doctorate degrees, to apparently opposite fields, HIV and AIDS and the spoken word. But what they have in common is service, using the spoken word in service to community and the world, using your knowledge and information about HIV and AIDS and medicine in service to the world. And if you look at all the most successful people in the world, whether they know it or not, they have that paradigm of service. Everybody's talking about Mark Zuckerberg and IPO. Service. Jay-Z rapping. Service. Through the word, to people, through song. For many years, I was really just happy to be on TV, and people would stop and say, oh, you on TV? Yeah, I'm on TV. I like being on TV. It's a nice job. And it was about the time that I received my honorary doctorate from Spelman around 1993. So I don't know if that had something to do with it. I thought of myself as Dr. Winfrey. That I went back and I took a long look at what it was I was doing on TV, and made a decision that I was no longer going to just be on TV, but I was going to use TV as a platform, as a force for good, and not be used by TV. And I will tell you, my decision to make that significant change in the way I operated on television, using television as a service, changed my career exponentially. Service through medicine, service through art, using whatever it is you produce, your product, as a way of giving back to the world. When you shift the paradigm of whatever it is you choose to do to service, and you bring significance to that, success will, I promise you, follow you. Service and significance equals success.
Now we're going to talk about it. But first, I have to make our regularly scheduled curriculum. Okay. So, she had that whole commencement speech, by the way, is amazing and excellent. And I just took a little sliver out of it to talk about and to share with you. Carrie, can you do the lights for me? Sure. I look better in the dark. So this is what I want to talk about, and what she said so beautifully is shifting what you do anything that you do. If you're a carpenter, how do you serve through carpentry? If you are a bank teller, how do you serve through banking? If you are a chef, how do you serve through being a chef? Whatever it is you do, shifting the paradigm of that to service, I think, is key. But there's more than that. So shifting what you do, your gifts and your talents, to a paradigm of service. She goes on to talk about this, and I've listened to interviews with her, and I can tell the time before she shifted her paradigm to service. Like, you can go back to the tapes of those shows, and you can see when it switched, when it became, okay, I'm going to use this platform that I have as a vehicle for good in the world. I am going to choose to use this for service. And she has talked at length in some interviews about how there are episodes that no one ever saw. They did, they spent lots of money on them, there's all kinds of production involved, and she got to the end and she went, no, we're not showing this. And one in particular she talked about was this particular woman who was very open about her lifestyle, and it was going, and at the end she said, Oprah said to her, why are you doing this? Like, why did you let us into this part of your life? And the woman said, well, I want to help people. I really want to help people. And she said, don't you have a son? And she said, yeah, I have a son who's 9 years old. And she said, as soon as she heard that woman had a 9-year-old son, she said, this show's never going to see the light of day, because it's not worth a rating point to me to ruin that kid's life, that one kid's life. Do you see what I mean? And that is a paradigm of service. It's the recognition that there is something greater of which I am a part, that I want to serve. And when I choose to do that, it's not to the detriment of anybody. Nobody suffers by that. Doesn't mean that people don't get uncomfortable. One of my first instructors told me that my job as a minister is to comfort the afflicted and afflict the comfortable. So I'm supposed to afflict the comfortable. That means, check, I'm doing more. Okay, so shifting what you do, your gifts and talents, to a paradigm of service. Service with intention is key. Service is an attitude, a way of being. True service has no ulterior motive. Here's the thing. There is everything we do is infused with the energy with which we do it. It's the why underneath that counts, right? So serve. So if I say be of service, I could have lots of different reasons for wanting to be of service, right? I could have, I want to be of service because I want recognition. I could have, I want to be of service because I don't think that I'm worthy, and so I need to earn my way into being valuable in the world. Can you feel that? So there are lots of reasons to serve, and it's key that we get in touch with the intention behind service. Service for service's sake. Here's what I have found to be true. As we serve, it is one of the ways in which we begin to discover and experience our oneness. Okay, I'll give an example. The talk I gave last week, right? My intention was to be truly helpful. I said it just before I got up this time. I said, I'm here to be truly helpful. I'm here to represent the love that sent me. I do not need to worry about what to say or what to do, for I am guided. And then I let it go, and I come up and I talk, right? So I did that last week. And as I did that, I got feedback after feedback after feedback that I am not alone, and that my experience was the same experience of these other people. And I went, oh my gosh, we really are all one. Like, there is a place at which we all meet, and I get to see it up close and personal through my commitment to service. So one of the byproducts of service for its own sake, is to recognize and experience oneness. So that's a great intention behind service. I want to be of service because I want to know the truth, with a capital T, of my oneness with other people, my oneness with God. That's a great intention. Another great intention is I want to be of service. I want to be truly helpful because I recognize that I am a child of God. So let's think about that for a minute. If I'm a child of God, like, what other choice do I have but to be of service? Like, I am born of that love, that energy. I'm here to be of service. And I will never feel purposeful until I am of service. So we get in touch with the why beneath. And it doesn't mean that there's judgment about that, because the recognition is that, well, let me go to the next thing first. Find a way to serve right now from where you are. So here's the thing. I realized, I don't know how many years ago, I'm going to say 15. I make up years because I really have no idea about time anymore. So just go with me on this. We're going to say it was 15 years ago. I decided that I wanted to be a spiritual teacher. That I could feel it. I could feel the call. I knew intuitively that was going to happen, that was my gift, and that's where I was going. And so my friend and I, we set up a website, and we said, okay, we're going to go and we're going to do retreats, we're going to do seminars, we're going to do talks, and we had it all set up. And because I decided, this is my gift, this is how I'll be of service. So I then went and built like a whole platform out of which I would do that, right? And guess what happened? It didn't. That thing that I was planning didn't happen. Guess what I am now? A spiritual teacher. But guess what I had to do? Let go of that plan. See, I was saying, intuitively I know this is how I'm going to be of service, so great, I'm going to go and create the way to be of service. No. Life said, no, that's not how it works. How it works is you have to show up in the life that you're living right here, right now, and say, I am willing to serve. Right here. From right here, without any restrictions. Not, I am willing to serve when I get to do the thing that it is that I want to do. That's not service. Service is right here, right now. I specifically encourage you to, hold on, let me make sure that this is true. I've been encouraging mothers lately. I've had the inspiration to encourage mothers lately to say, how may I serve outside of my household? I've been encouraged to say that and inspired to say that to mothers. And in this moment, what I'm recognizing is that I'm inspired to say it not just to mothers, but to all of you. The recognition is that we do serve in our household. And yes, that is important. But the service that feeds us, the service that also feeds us, so that we are able to go and be of real service in our household, is the service that we do out there. I don't know why that's true. It just is. For some reason, when your kids are all sick, you just want to lock yourself in a closet because you've been given to, you make sure they breathe, and you've been making sure they've been breathing for 9 years, and you're just thinking, I'm kind of tired. Can I have the day off, please? That what I recognize is that when you say, how do I be of service outside of this household? And you make a commitment to that, and you go be of service outside of the household, you get filled up, and then you get to go be in the household and be of service. Does that make sense? Okay, so the question is, how do I serve? That's the question that we ask. How do I serve? Not, this is how I'm going to serve. And I'll build a website to make sure that that's the way that I serve. Do you feel that? It doesn't mean that you won't build the website. It doesn't mean you won't be the spiritual teacher. It just means you don't get to dictate that platform. Just because I knew intuitively I was going to do it didn't mean that I got to choose the way in which that came about. Because my intention was to be truly helpful. My intention was to serve. Well, guess what? There's more pieces than just me, right? There's more pieces involved. So if I trust that there is a greater picture, that I don't always have access to that picture, but I'm willing to serve, and every day I wake up and I say, I'm willing to serve, how do I serve? And then I show up in my life and I serve what is brought to me, then the platform will be brought to you. Does that make sense? Okay. So Newton, every action has an equal and opposite reaction. This is how we know that when we make a commitment to serve life, to serve the world serves us. the law. It's science. You can't argue with science. Right? So what I know is, and Wayne Dyer says this really beautifully, or said it really beautifully, is that when you say, how can I serve to the universe says, and how do I serve you? And that's just the way that it works. In direct proportion to our service do we get it back. Is it mirrored back to us? We are whole because we are part of a whole. And part of what service does is it is you recognizing that I am a part of the larger whole. And that I am here to serve that larger whole. And it is important to have self-care. It is important to have self-care. That doesn't mean to the detriment of yourself. There is a difference between service and sacrifice. I do not advocate sacrifice. In fact, sacrifice doesn't do anybody any good. Doesn't do the person you think you're doing something for any good, doesn't do you any good, because sacrifice is resentment. There's resentment involved in sacrifice. So it's getting to that pure place where I can say, I will serve for the deliciousness of service, for the experience of service, for the experience of oneness with my fellow human being. The Tao Te Ching says that the master does her work and then steps back, then forgets it. That is why it lasts forever. And that is what that's speaking to, is the recognition that I have no ulterior motive in my service. I serve because that is what I'm inspired to do. I serve because I recognize I am part of a whole, not because of any outcome in the world of form. And ironically, that's when you get the outcome in the world of form, once you let it go. Because that's what happened in my experience. So, I think that we're back to prayer. So, what I encourage you to do is every morning when you wake up, ask, I am willing to serve. How do I serve? And the recognition is that we are not talking about serving a God that is separate from us, a being or a deity that is holding some judgment over us. That's not what we're serving. We are serving the whole of which we are a part. God is the whole, and we are a part of that whole. So when I say, how do I serve? I'm included in that. I'm a part of the whole, right? So it's not, how do I serve so that I make sure that I'm good or I'm worthy, or there's someone or something or some being that I need to please or make happy. That's not what's happening. It's how do I serve the we of which we are a part. So I invite you now to close your eyes with me. In unity, what we recognize with prayer is that there is a place at which we are born of God. We are an expression of God. And our intention during prayer is to raise our consciousness to that place, that knowingness of our oneness with God. So we are not beseeching a being outside of us, but we are raising our consciousness to that level where we know and can feel the support of love, of the whole of which we are a part, and then we speak from that space. And so I invite you to allow my words to be the words of your heart as we take a breath. I know that I am here on purpose today. That it is no accident that I am here, hearing these words, being pointed towards service. I recognize that through service I will experience the great power and the great joy that comes from realizing my connection with the whole. my unbreakable connection to God. I recognize that I am here to be on purpose, and that the point of being a human, the point of being a spiritual being, having a human experience, is to in fact be human. And so I ask, how do I serve? How do I serve humanity? I am willing, I am open. I know that I will leave here today, and in a time not far from now, I will be pointed toward an exact something, toward an exact someone to whom I can be of service. And I will know in that moment that I was led there. I will take a breath, I will smile, and I will serve from exactly where I am. Let's take one more breath together. And as you are ready, you can open your eyes.